So my op-ed today over at HartmannReport.com is titled, "Would Dictator Trump Kill His Rivals?" And I'm kind of, leveraging off or building off this Time magazine report by reporter Eric Cortellessa yesterday, the cover story in Time magazine, where Trump says that he's going to he's going to deport 11 million people if he becomes president. He would let red states monitor women's pregnancies and prosecute those who violate abortion bans. He would withhold funds appropriated by Congress, which, by the way, is not within the president's power, although he did this when he was president before. He did it with the money that was supposed to go to Ukraine, remember? And President Zelensky had to come to the United States and beg that that money that had been appropriated by Congress be released by Trump. And Trump's answer was, well, if you'll say that Biden was corrupt, I'll give you the money. He said he would be willing to fire a U.S. attorney who doesn't carry out his order to prosecute someone, breaking with, the tradition of judicial independence in the United States, or the Department of Justice independence. He's weighing pardons for all of his followers. He might not come to the aid of an ally in Europe if they were attacked by Russia, and he would gut the U.S. Civil Service, deploy the National Guard to American cities, close the White House Pandemic Preparedness Office, and staff his administration with people who say that he won the 2020 election. I mean, those are all important points, and they're pretty horrible. But what Cortellessa didn't ask Trump about was his repeated calls to kill people. And I think this is actually a big deal. Bill Barr was on CNN this weekend, and he told Caitlin Collins that he, on multiple occasions, heard Trump calling for the death of people. Now, when she said, are you still going to vote for him? He said, yes, I think he was just, engaging in bluster. He was just exaggerating. Right, like the bluster that he engaged in on January 6th that led to 8 dead people, including 3 dead police officers. Historians will tell you that dictators throughout history started with bluster and ended up murdering people. And, Donald Trump has been promising this for years. Back in 2016, he bragged that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a vote. In 2020, we learned that he begged, essentially, both Mark Milley, his chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Mark Esper, his acting Secretary of Defense. He begged both of them on different occasions to shoot Black Lives Matter protesters. He kind of softened it by saying, well, can't you shoot them in the legs? Well, the legs have giant arteries that, that can also, bleed you out in moments. And then there was the story about, somebody in 2020 had leaked the fact that Trump and his family fled to the White House bunker as the Black Lives Matter protesters were coming down Pennsylvania Avenue. He was terrified. There's black people coming, oh my God, oh my God. And he ran in, 3 stories down into the bunker in the basement of the White House. And when that got leaked, he went nuts. And Michael Bender, the Wall Street Journal reporter, wrote this in his 2021 book, Frankly, We Did Win This Election. He wrote, Trump boiled over at the bunker story as soon as they arrived and shouted at them to smoke out whoever had leaked it. He was the most upset some aides had ever seen the president. Whoever did that, they should be charged with treason, Trump reportedly yelled. They should be executed. After he called our soldiers who died at Normandy suckers and said John McCain was an effing loser for getting shot down over Vietnam, Trump turned on Mark Milley when he refused to shoot people in Washington, D.C. Milley wrote about this, and then, when his book came out, Trump said that Milley himself should be executed, saying that he deserves death in all capital letters with an exclamation mark. Last month, before his trial in New York started, he said that if Alvin Bragg actually dragged him into a courtroom in New York City, that there would be, quote, death and destruction, that his followers would come out and kill people. This is just, he's got this long history of killing people. For 130 years, we've had this tradition of presidents not executing federal criminals between the time that the election happens and somebody else becomes president and the time that that person is sworn in on January 20th. So from the first week of November to the third week of January, you don't execute people. Well, Trump executed so many people. He went on a killing spree, killing as many of the federal death row prisoners as he possibly could, that the BBC led with the headline, "In Trump's Final Days, a Rush of Federal Executions." You'll recall back in March, April of 2020, I've written about this. I've told you this story many times. It's not a secret. It's easy to find. Jared Kushner suggested to Donald Trump that because all the people who had died of COVID at that point had, or the vast majority of them anyway, had died in Washington State, in Seattle basically, in New Jersey or in New York or in Connecticut, these all being blue states with Democratic governors, that it would be, quote, an effective political strategy not to do anything about COVID. Also, most of the people dying were black and brown. Not to do anything about COVID and to blame the deaths on these Democratic governors, which is, throughout the month of April, exactly what Donald Trump did, which led to 500,000 unnecessary deaths, according to a study done by the British medical journal Lancet. He killed 500,000 Americans. I mean, death, anybody? 500,000 dead Americans because of Donald Trump? We had more people die from COVID, and we continue to have more people die from COVID, than any other developed country in the world because of Donald Trump, because he is the death and destruction. People need to wake up to what's coming.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
I think this guy is really dangerous and really serious about killing people. What say you? I'll pick up your calls after.